Centerline half moon. We're going to do two things today. I'm going to show you how to do a pair of loopy fringed earrings, and I'm also going to show you how to make a half moon centerline bracelet, all with Delica beads. So I am Leslie Rogowski, the creative director for the Beadsmith, and I'm joined today by my fabulous Beadsmith buddy, Leslie Pope, who will be monitoring the questions for you. And pay attention to the chat that will come up on the side of your screen. So if you have questions, that's where she'll be posting answers. You'll also see she's already posted links to the PDF. There's two PDFs, one for the pair of earrings and one for the bracelet that we're going to do in the second half of our workshop. I want you to watch what I'm doing today and then go back to this lesson later. This is being recorded, so you can tune in again and again to watch and follow along with me then at that time. You'll be able to pause it, and so you can take notes. You can ask questions as we're going along, and we'll try to answer them as best we can. So like I said, I suggest that you watch this video here right now with us for the next hour or so, and then you can go back to it and watch it at your leisure. So let's start with the earrings on my bead mat. Okay, this is the earring tutorial. One of the things that we really take pride in at the Beadsmith is the clarity of our tutorials. So you will get full illustrations. All the materials are listed for you with Michael's item numbers. And you can see I take you row by row, in this case, through the project with a little teaser for some of the other things we do with the line of centerline components. So we're going to start just a really brief rundown of the materials you'll need. Size 11 Delicas in 3 colors. Here's a close-up of an earring. These loopy fringes are so fun. And these are very lightweight, these earrings. So you'll need size 11 Delicas in 3 colors. And again, they're in the tutorial. You should get yourself a Beadsmith beading pebble. It has size 10 and size 12 needles in it. I'm using size 12 needles for this project because we're going to sew through the beads several times. So there's that cool little storage thing. Please use Fireline. In this case, Smoke. 6 pound is my go-to weight. There's a 4 pound on here, which you could probably use for this pair of earrings too, because it's not very weight supporting. And of course, the featured centerline half moon links come in gold plated and rhodium plated. I'm going to be using gold today. So you want to also get ear wires for these that match the color of the half moon that you use. And a thread zap. You can use a pair of scissors, but I love my thread zap. In case everybody doesn't know what this is, I'm going to take the lid off. There's a filament here on the end that will get hot when you press this button. This is a battery operated handheld, 1 battery inside, easy to put together. When you press this button, the filament gets very hot. And I'll show you. It might be hard to see how red it gets, but here's a piece of Fireline. Goes right through. And the cool thing about this is when you finish up and you're getting in to trim your thread, you can get very close to where the end is to trim your thread. There's also a really cool trick about splicing your thread together. You can look for that online, actually. If I have time, I'll show you when we're done. All right, let's put this protective cap back on to protect the filament. Put that aside. Now, these are small beads and small little holes in the component. So what I'm going to do is I made myself a supersize half moon component that I'm going to demonstrate for you using a heavier thread and larger Delicas. These are the size 8 Delicas. So you can see the technique, and then I'll pick up my started actual earring to give you an idea of how that goes. So the first thing you're going to do, follow the instructions for the length of Fireline that you're going to cut. String it on a number 12 needle, and you're going to string a stopper bead, which is just sewing through your bead again, string it and sew it through, and it slides. So this is going to keep your thread from pulling out. So here's your center line. Here's the real one. It's also very reflective. So this is just better for you guys, I think, to see this. From back to front, you're going to sew from back to front. Here's the back. That's how I remember. And the reason that it's important, not as important in this one as in the bracelet, but there is on the back, there will be thread passovers in the next project that we do. Okay, so the earrings give you graduated loops, and I've counted out for the pattern for you so you can keep track. And the first thing we're going to do is string the first loop. You can see how they start out short and form this nice lush shape. Short, longer, longer, increasing to the center. There is an odd number of holes, 15. So that's going to be your longest loop. And then you're going to gradually decrease. All right, so I have strung, these are size 8 Delicas, and you can see how much bigger they are. I've strung, you know, I'm mimicking what the first loop is here. From back to front, out the first hole. Now I'm going to string from back to front, out the second hole. There's my first loop. Now we're just going to keep repeating this. So my second hole, I'm going to pick up in the pattern, the 3 blue, the red, the gold, the red. Now the first loop had 5 blue in the long section. The second loop's going to have 8. So these are increasing by 3 to make the nice shape. So I'm going to pick up 8 blue. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And my red, gold, red, just like on the picture. And now I'm going to pick up the back of the loop, which has 8 more of the main color. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now I have the little band of color and my last 3 blue, red, gold, red, and 3. I kept a consistent number of beads along the top of the earring so that when it's together, you really get a sense of this kind of mass of design. All right, so I have my second loop strung. Now I'm going to come from back to front up the third hole. And in this case, you want to pull your loops so they come up to the hole. You see how that's starting to graduate? Let's do one more loop. This time we'll have 11 in our long section. So I'm going to pick up the 3, the little band of red, gold, red. 11 of the turquoise. Ooh, that one's sewn together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Pick up the band, red, gold, red. 11 more blue. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. The band of red, gold, red, and the last 3 that go across the top. And again, we're just going to circle around. You're going to do this through the whole earring from back to front. Make sure you're keeping the loops pulled. If they start to loosen up, you can go back and pull on them and work your way back. Is that clear to everybody? You're just circling around. When you get to the last one, let's see, let's pretend this one is the last one. So the last one, you're actually going to go circle around and come through that same last hole. And you're just going to sew through the loops again carefully so you don't pierce the thread. Shall I finish my fake earring? I'm looking for reactions. Why don't I show you some on the regular earring and see if we can do this, but
I was going to say you have 43 minutes, so.
no, I'm good.
And, okay.
We're good. We're good. The bracelet will take a little longer. That's why I did this one. Let's see if I can show you on the real earring, because it is little, but you'll be able to see what I showed you. The first thing I did was string a stopper bead. And then I strung my first beads. So you can see how it comes up to the hole in this half moon center line, trying to hold it so it doesn't blind you guys. Now I have I came around and I came out this second hole, like I did on this, the second hole. And I've already strung all those little beads for the second hole in the pattern. Now I'm going to come around from back to front and come through the third hole.
So Leslie, the consensus is showing it on the larger piece is best.
Yeah,
yes.
I figured. That's why I cut them out. But I wanted you to see that when you do it, you're not going to have this big, giant, nice thing. So let's keep working on this then. And you do want to make sure that you have the right amount of thread. When you start, it's really hard to add thread to this cleanly. So I called for 2 yards of thread because it really uses it up. So I'll do another one on here. We have 3 beads. My thread is coming back to front. And for this, I'm just using a piece of Ceylon and a embroidery needle to be big enough to hold the thread. That's just for my demo. So I have 3, red, gold, red. Now I had 5, 8, 11. So I'm going to have 14 in my next long section. And again, I do all the counting for you to figure out how to graduate this easily. And you can see that everything is labeled. Shows you what your loops will look like to the center. 26 in this section, 26 of the main color, will be in your 15th hole. That's the very middle hole. So let's pick up 14. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I like to hold my needle so I can guide it with my pointer finger. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Now I'm at the bottom of the front of my loop. So I want to pick up my little stripe of the 3 colors, red, gold, red. All right, now here's something I want to show you. Most of the time, my Yuki Delica beads are very uniform, but sometimes they have some variations. And in a project where you want to have a symmetry, a balance like this, I can see that the first red that I picked up is narrower than the others. So I'm going to take these beads off and put that other bead, the little bead, aside, because I can use that someplace else. So this is to tell you guys that you pay attention to every one of these little jewels that you pick up, because it really does make a difference. And if you find some that are mutant, I'm looking for some others. Sometimes the edges might be cracked, but usually it's a size difference. You want to discard them and put them in a bowl that you keep on your desk, and you can use them later for a stopper bead or in a place where you need a little bead. All right, so we're 14 in the main section, red, gold, red, and another 14, which is the back side of the loop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And we're going to do our little band again. Red, gold, red. And 3 at the top. All right, now I'm going to pretend that this is the end. I want to show you what happens. Instead of moving over, because at the end, you're going to be coming out of the last hole. You're going to not have any more holes. You're going to come back through the hole you just came out of, that last hole. And pull it up, and you can see my thread is coming out the front. You're going to go through. I'm turning it around to have access to the beads. You're going to sew again carefully so you don't pierce the thread through all the beads in this loop until you come out to the back of your earring. Remember that this is all being recorded, so you can go back and watch this again as you do it and look for where I end the earring. Carefully sewing through all the way around. And you will know if you pierce your thread with the number 12 needle, you'll feel it. You'll feel it, kind of a little bit of friction when you go through the beads, because the size 11 are smaller than these, as most of you know.
So I have a slight aside for you, Leslie.
Yes.
So we have some people who think that your rings are fabulous and want to know if you're ever going to teach a class on how to make those rings.
Well, you can ask Michaels to have me back to do the rings. But yes, they're peyote, and oh gosh, I've been making them forever. I have a whole bag of rings. Actually, I'll just take an aside. I have a whole bag of rings, all different kinds. And depending on the project that I'm wearing, I choose a color. And usually I choose things that don't stick out because they'll get caught on thread. So, but thank you for noticing. All right, so I've come through all the beads. This is my last one, remember? And now I'm on the back the back side. So what I'm going to do is tie a knot around the existing threads that are here. You have 2 threads now coming out of this last hole, and I'm going to loop under those threads. And make a half hitch, which means I'm just like the first thing you do when you tie your shoe. Let me get that tail out of there. There we go. And I'm going to snug that up. And then I'm going to weave this back into the beads. Just a little bit. And trim it. There we go. Then you're going to take your stopper bead off from the beginning, which mine isn't going to do. I'm going to cheat. If you ever have to take a bead off, use a crimping pliers because they don't come together at the nose, so you would break a bead and not squish your thread. So there's a little tip for you. You're going to grab it with the crimping pliers, cover it with your hand because boy, those pieces will fly. See them all over my mat now. All right. Now I'm going to thread the tail on my needle. And here's a case where your thread is going to show on the back. This is why it's important to pay attention to what's the front and the back. I'm going to tie a half hitch around the next thread like I just did. So you're going to go around and through your loop. Make sure everything is pulled snug. You want the beads, you don't want thread to show across the holes. You're going to tie just a half hitch, pull it snug, and weave the tail into your beads. You don't need glue, you don't need a lot of knots because these fringes are not bearing weight. They're just dangling. There you go, I just did it a little bit. Bring my thread zapper right there. So if this was the last hole, you can see how that mimics what your earring, few of your earring loops there. And you can fiddle with them to style them so that they're laying in place when you wear them. So those are your earrings. Half moon center line. All right. Any questions about this? Everybody good? Remember that the links to the PDFs are already in the chat. Thank you, Bianca. The links to the PDF are already in the chat. So you can download them. So I'm going to take my little scooper and get rid of all these little shards that I got from my cracked off.
Nancy says, please show the back close to the camera.
So you can see like the last hole here, which would be over here, you're going to see the 2 strands coming together because you're going to knot to the same hole. The first hole where you weave your thread in,
she said
you're going to have the thread.
She said the finished earring, Leslie.
Oh, sure.
Sorry, I'm interrupting you.
That's all right. Well, I did a pretty clean job, so I'm not quite sure. Let me see
what's
which
the front and the back.
Which is the front and the back. Well, I'll show you that because it's a finer you can see that this looks like the front. They're all coming out of their single holes. Can you see that, Nancy?
She said yes.
Okay, good. Here, this looks like I must have worked in the opposite direction. But you'll see these are sort of connected coming out here of the last hole. Looks like two coming out of the same one. So nice, lush. Good?
Yeah, good so far. And actually, everyone who keeps saying you can't get the PDF out, Michaels will send you copies of the PDF in an email after the class. I don't know why people are having issues getting the PDFs out of the chat.
Okay, you should be able to it will download to your desktop or your download folder. So it might even be there. But yes, you can definitely will get it emailed from Michaels. So these half moon elements are available in the gold and the rhodium plate also. So those are the two metal finishes. When you get your ear wires, which you just open with the pliers and put on, you want to make sure that you're getting a gold color if you're using gold half moons, a silver color if you're using the rhodium half moons. Okay? All right. Same materials for the bracelet. Let's get these out of the way. Oh, here, check this out. All right, I did this in another colorway just for fun. The dark beads were hard to show you guys, so that's why. This is on the silver. But it's only 3 colors and a very small quantity of beads. So if you guys already have Delicas or you go into Michael's and they have just this rainbow, go nuts. All right. Now we're going to bring this in. Ooh. And cover that up. The next project, which uses half moons also, are these bracelets. The technique's a little different for this. That's why we're going to do a second one. And because we're using chain, it's adjustable. So the materials for this, you're going to need the pack of half moons again in the silver or the gold. You'll need the Fireline and your beading pebble and your thread zap and your Delicas, size 11 Delicas. For this, you're also going to need chain with a clasp. And I like the fact that you can get chains that already have clasps. So I bought a chain that's like a ready-made necklace and I cut it, and I'll talk to you about those tools, and I cut it so that one end of it already has a clasp on it. And you're going to want to measure for how loose you want this, because it's adjustable. The lobster clasp can go in different places. I usually leave like 5 inches at least on the side, and then another 5 inches, and including the bracelet, that's going to make a bracelet that if you needed it could almost fit around your ankle. So you want a necklace chain in silver or gold, again, to match the color of the half moons, the centerline half moons. And because you're working with the chain, you're going to want a wire snip and a pliers to open and close jump rings so that you can attach the pieces of chain with a jump ring to the little hole, where in the earrings you put your ear wire. So you're going to need at least 2 jump rings. When you choose your chain, I don't want to forget this. When you choose your chain, make sure that your links are large enough so that the lobster will fit. You want to make sure that your lobster is going to be able to fit in the link. So don't look for a really fine chain. You can have a chain like a Figaro that has big and little parts to it, as long as there's something that, and you'll be able to tell by looking at it. If you're in doubt, pick something else so that it can be linked anywhere in the chain. All right, where are we? Okay, good. We have plenty of time.
Yep, 24 minutes.
Excellent, excellent. All right, once again, I have my large economy size demos, front and back. Now for this, I'm not going to string a pattern. I just want to focus on the technique, and I'm just going to use the blue beads. All right, we'll move the actual one off to the side, and we're going to keep this here. So I have my piece again. Follow the instructions to make sure that you have the right amount of thread. I just have a short piece to demo. String a stopper bead. So you sew through it and sew through it again. So you can slide it off. And we're going to sew from back to front again. Now this project, because you have to connect 2 half moons, is a little more what we might call fiddly, but you can handle it. Back to front. And for this project, for this purpose of the demo, I'm just going to pick up 7 beads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I want to show you the tutorial for this so you know that you will get a list of all the materials with item numbers for Michaels and nice picture. Step-by-step instructions with tips that I'm sharing with you on this video, and a nice big chart which shows you the stringing method with little arrows showing you what I'm going to demo, and a chart for the pattern that I used in the bracelet. Chart, beads. All right. Here we go. The trick here is, I'm going to show you from another center line. You can see by looking at the illustration here first that we're stringing from hole to hole between 2 parts. A couple weeks ago, I showed people how to make the centerline cuffs, which is the same technique that we're going to use today, except this is 1 piece instead of 2, but you're going to be stringing from hole to hole. And when you look, and that's what this window represents, and you can see the front is nice and clean, and then on the back, you're going to have to cross over from hole to hole like this. So this is why you want to always keep your thread in the direction that the tutorial instructs, so that you can have this nice clean zigzag where the thread shows when you bridge from hole to hole, and you're only going to see it on the back. And of course, when you wear the bracelet, it's going to be facing your wrist. When you wear the earrings, there's no back to worry about because you're doing the loopy fringe. So this is what we're going to learn. I'm going to show you easy method. It's a back and forth. And it's important to pay attention to not piercing your thread in this, because you go through each column of beads 3 times. So the first time is you come from back to front, pick up your beads, here's your matching piece. First hole, front to back. And for the bracelet, you want to keep the beads, you don't want to pull the beads right up to the hole. They kind of will sit in the little space like this. So now you have back to front, string your beads, front to back. I'm holding my things together. That's the stopper bead and the tail. Now you want to sew through the column of beads again. So you're going to push them up with your finger and carefully sew through all the beads. Get this out of the way. It's really fiddly when I'm doing it large. It's actually a little less. Now, you want to come from back to front. You don't want to cross over to the next hole yet because your beads need to be attached from the front hole through and from the back through in order to make this nice clean look on the front. So stay with me. So I'm going to go from back to front. That's the tail in the way there. So now we're at the front. But we don't want to cross over. Remember, I was telling you, you don't want to see that thread crossing over. So we have to get our thread to the back of the half moons. And in order to do this, we're going to go a third time through that column of beads that you just strung and go from front to back to cross over. And you can lay this down if you want or hold it. I'm going to push up with my finger and I'm going to sew through all those beads again. And now I'm going to sew from front to back. And there's my first column. I'm going to flip it over, cross over on the back, and go again from back to front, just like you first started. Right, I'm going to just tape off my my tail thread so it's not going to be in the way as we do this, and just trim it back. All right, so we came through, we crossed over from back to front. Now we're ready to pick up the second strand. I'm going to pick up another. In this case, the bracelet has the same number of beads. Even if your pattern is different and you make up your own pattern to do here, you want this to be parallel. So you're going to pick up the same number of beads. So I'm going to pick up 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I started from back to front. Now I'm going from front to back. I'm going to flip it over, sew through the column of beads. Okay. I'm going to make sure I'm not catching my stopper bead. There we go. And take your time with this. You don't have to sew through the whole column at once. But remember, when you do that, this column on the bottom here right now is only attached through the front. You want to make sure that your thread now goes again from back to front. Now we're in a position, so you have it attached on both sides. Now we're at the front and we're ready to cross over. So we have to sew through the column of beads again and go from front to back. So our crossover bridge is on the back. So I'm going to push up with my finger, sew through my beads. Careful not to pierce your thread. When you pull this snug, it's a good idea to lay it down a little bit just to make sure that your beads are going to be parallel like this. So I'm in the front. I'm going to sew from front to back. And now I'm going to cross over. This is my tail thread here. You guys see that, right? That's just, I don't want you to be confused about that. So I'm going to move that out of the way. Now I'm ready to cross over to start my third column. Do you see how this crossover is on the bottom? And now the crossover is going to be on the top or on the other side. And that's the way this should look. When you look at the back, I'll show you this one again. You want to see that the crossovers alternate between one side and the other. So you're going to cross over this way. It kind of does this nice tidy little zigzag. And this method is really just about keeping things looking neat and tidy. There may be other ways to do this, but this is the way I came up with, and it really is discreet on the back of your piece. So now you can see for the bracelet, here's the crossover from back to front, and I'm ready to string my third column. 7 beads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. From back to front, from front to back. And this is all spelled out in the tutorial, you guys, so you can refer to it. Now I'm going to flip it over and I want to sew through those beads again. There we go. And I need this to attach on the back, so I'm going to go from back to front. Get out of there. At any point after you have 2 or 3 rows, and I'm going to do this now, you can weave your stopper bead in, and then it'll be out of the way. So I'm going to do that now. And this thread kind of pulls a little bit, the C-line. From my working with it, it started to unravel. You won't be using this. There we go. All right, enough to pull through. So I have my tail thread on my needle, and I'm going to just come down and sew back through that first column of beads. No knots are needed. There's enough thread in there to be snug. You don't even have to come through the whole column. I'm going to pull it through. Where's my zapper? Here it is. And you see how I'm holding it with my hand? So I'm pulling the thread taut. When you use a thread zapper, it helps. There you go. All right, now my tail is gone. I am on my third column and it's all attached front and back. Whoops, I pulled the needle off. This will be the last part of this that I do for you guys here. So do you remember what I have to do now? I'm ready to start my 4th column, so I need to cross over. But before I do that, I have to sew through the column and front to back to be able to cross over on the back of this. So I'm going to carefully sew through that whole column again. So it's 3 times. Snug it up. Sew through from front to back. So you can see that the front is nice and clean. The lines are nice and clean. And now I'm going to cross over from back to front. And here again, you can see that the crossover zigzag alternate from one piece to the other piece to the other piece, and it'll go through the whole time like that. When you're finished, you're going to sew through, no knots in this one. You're going to do exactly what you did with the tail thread, and you're going to just sew back through the column of beads and trim it. I don't know if you'll be able to see the crossover on this. Let's see.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, it's a little shiny. Yeah. I don't know if it works better. No, that's all right. You just want it to be nice and clean when you do that. So is that clear for everyone? Nodding? Good, good. And again, I'll repeat again that you want to refer to the video. You'll get all those tips in the tutorial as well. So half moons, they're pretty cool. The cuff tutorial is already there. So since you have this piece of information in this video, if you weren't in the class for the centerline cuff, I believe they just have the rhodium color at Michael's. I'm not sure, but it's centerline is the family of components. And there's some really cool ones, and I'm going to give you a teaser for one of my next ones coming up is November 3rd. And we're going to do a really simple little charm. This is a center line. The Delicas just go straight through. You're only going to do one column, just like you did today. So no knots or anything. You're back to front, front to back, through the column. And I have this strung on Stretch Magic with some very fabulous new Hishi beads. And we're going to do that on November 3rd. So look for the centerline feather, because wow, is this like perfect for all your stackable bracelets. That's what it's meant for. To layer them up. If you've got a wrist full, this is really fun. And because the feather is only one column, if you have a talented young person who can manage a needle and thread with little beads, this is a great project for them. And then I'm going to show you how to attach the elastic and glue the little knot. So on behalf of, hi everybody, on behalf of Beadsmith and Michaels from Team Leslie, me, Leslie Rogowski, and Leslie Pope, I hope you had fun and learned something to make you a better beader. I told you about our next workshop on November 3rd with another centerline component. So everybody be safe out there, and thanks for joining us. Bye.